Hello everyone. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, depending upon when you are watching this video lecture. In the earlier classes, in relation to the chapter of materials, we discussed about the importance of material management for any organization, what could be the prerequisites or requirements of a proper material management system in any organization. And also, we discussed about the material procurement procedure in detail, along with various documents which are supposed to be used in an organization for a proper procurement procedure. And as a part of that, once the materials are purchased, after they are received, how the material receipts have to be valued. We have seen the inclusions and exclusions list for various items of costs and benefits to be included or excluded as the case may be, to the value of the materials which are received after purchasing them from the selected vendor, and how that receipt of materials should be valued. We have applied those principles also in solving some of the questions. While doing so, one of the very important aspects also we discussed, that is the treatment of normal loss of materials and abnormal loss of materials, which are different in accounting. Normal loss is going to be borne by the good units. It is going to be basically distributed among the good units also, which means the actual cost of each good unit is going to be inflated because of the normal loss. Whereas in the case of abnormal loss, that loss is separately calculated. It is not going to have any impact on the good units cost, but the cost or the loss which has been caused due to abnormal reasons will be charged to the profit and loss account, that is costing profit and loss account separately. That is a treatment of abnormal loss of materials. So the material procurement procedure, valuation of material receipts are the two major things that we have discussed in this chapter so far. Then coming to the next aspect, which is almost the most important point in the problems point of view, is the inventory control systems, mechanisms, formulae, whatever we can call. So what is going to be important in this inventory control segment of this particular chapter is more about the techniques which can be used for the purpose of ensuring that there is no overstock and there is no understock. So simply, what is inventory control? We can just understand in a simpler way like this, where there is no overstock and there is no stock out situation also. How to manage that simply is the inventory control mechanism. Of course, the overall process we have to always keep in mind. Within that, this is one of the core areas practically, of course, also, as well as for our examination point of view. So in the examination point of view, the major questions, number of times the typical questions from this chapter will be normally coming from this segment of the chapter, that is inventory control segment. That does not mean the others are not important, others are also important, but mostly theoretical in nature. The numerical questions can be asked only from particular topics. So what is the materials management importance for an organization? That's a theory question. Material procurement procedure, complete. Any questions can be asked from that entire material procurement procedure. That is one of the most important theory question area. So that can be asked as a theory question, no doubt about that. But valuation of material receipts is a numerical point. But once again, storage of materials. While the materials are stored, what kind of documents or records are maintained? Bin card, stores ledger, what is the difference between them? Once again, that's a theoretical area. So what are explained in short, what is the meaning of bin card, stock control cards, or stores ledger? All of them are storage related documents. So these are all theory questions. So in this so far numerical questions, what we have encountered is majorly only about valuation of material receipts. All other things are mostly theoretical in nature. Theoretical in the sense they can be expected for theory questions in the examination. But of course, everything is really going to be useful and important in the real life. Actually, while doing this in the factories, each and every aspect what we are discussing here will be very important, no doubt. But from the examination point of view, some are important for theory questions, some are important for numerical questions. In that sense, inventory control is going to be very important from a numerical question standpoint, and 100% almost guaranteed that a question will appear from this portion of the chapter materials. So let us focus on this very attentively. We need to remember the formulae, understand the concept also, of course, not just by hearting them, but we need to apply the formulae for solving the questions which we encounter in the examinations. So before going to that formula and all, let us understand what is the definition of inventory control according to the Chartered Institute of Management Accountants, CIMA, of which I am also a member. So the Chartered Institute of Management Accountants, London, that is UK Institute, that defines the inventory control like this: the function of ensuring that sufficient goods are retained in the stock to meet all the requirements. That is one part, but without carrying unnecessarily large stocks. So easy to say, easy to define actually one way. So what we are talking about inventory control means we should ensure that sufficient goods are retained in the stock also, but at the same time we are not carrying unnecessarily large stocks also. So there should be always a balance. So control is all about that. Basically, it is a balance between sufficient stock and overstock. So is overstock very good policy? No, it is not a good policy. We cannot be very happy about our overstock and being very conservative, and having a huge inventory is not going to be considered as a good policy. On the other side, not at all maintaining sufficient stock, only ordering as and when really we require it, that is also not correct. So both are not really good. There has to be a balance that has to be maintained, and how to maintain that balance, for that we need a lot of we can say tools and techniques which will be adopted for ensuring that this objective is met. So ultimately there should be an uninterrupted production flow. There should never be a situation of stock out, ideally for any organization, but at the same time there should not be excessive stock also. So how to manage this contradictory objectives is what about all inventory control. On one side, we should not be in a stock out situation. On the other side, we should not be overstocking also. That balance is what we need to maintain, and how to do that is what is the subject matter of inventory control. So let us understand various things here, how this inventory control can be done. Each of them is of course a question for us, and most of them can be even numerical questions. First and foremost thing, which is the most important for us actually, is the setting quantitative levels. So we have to set certain levels, certain formula will be there for that, and we need to calculate them and we need to use them. We means not us, in the factories, actual life, they will use these levels for the purpose of inventory control. For us, only for exam point of view, we need to just calculate various levels using the formula that we know or we are supposed to know now. So inventory control, we are talking from a factory point of view, from a real organization point of view. How can they do the inventory control? First thing is they can have certain levels. They can have certain formulae be used for setting up certain quantitative levels. That is, quantitative levels is first way of inventory control. Second way of inventory control is on the basis of relative classification. So sometimes we can call this as a discriminatory inventory control. We can call that discriminatory inventory control means you don't have to have the focus on all the inventories in the same way. You can classify them into different categories. There are various techniques for that. There is ABC analysis, FSN analysis, VED analysis, Pareto analysis, that is called sometimes. So a lot of different types of classifications are there. Mostly those are theoretical in nature, but yes, there is a possibility of a question can be asked also on this. We will do that later. Another way of inventory control is using ratio analysis. Once again, formula. We need to be able to use that ratio to find out whether we are having a very aggressive inventory policy or a conservative inventory policy. Idea is not to be both sides. We cannot have too aggressive inventory policy. We cannot have too conservative inventory policy. Too aggressive means not at all having stock. that will result in a great problem of stock out. Too conservative means overstocking. Conservative person will keep overstock. Oh, what happens? Maybe production might be stopped, so I will stock it in excessive levels. So that is conservatism. And too aggressive person will not care about the stock. He will only look at the go down when he really requires, and then he finds out there is no stock. Then the production stops. So that is also dangerous. So too aggressive, too conservative, both are not correct. How to balance that? By using ratio analysis, we can have an idea of indicators of where are we standing. If at all we are standing in a wrong direction, that can be changed by using ratio analysis. Such measures can be taken. Of course, the other one which is most practical in reality is the physical control. Ultimately, physical control matters. All these things, somebody sitting in the AC office, calculating various levels, classifying the materials, using ratio analysis, which we do, all of them in the examinations. These are all the jobs of accountants and analysts, cost accountants, management accountants. They do this. But ultimately, without physical control, all these things are useless. So we cannot just only depend upon these high level things. We have to actually have real control. Physical control should be there in the godown. Various mechanisms, various control measures have to be taken. Of course, commonly also we see that. For example, having CCTV cameras, having proper security system, having we can say access cards for anybody to enter the store, like that. Many physical controls can be taken, and checking the stock very periodically or continuously. Sometimes daily also stock is checked. That will be matched with the records. So this is what we can call that as perpetual inventory control system and continuous stock taking. All these things will come under physical control. Physical control you and I cannot do naturally, because we are only here to give some numbers and answers to numerical questions basically. So physical control once again will be only a theoretical question, whereas numerical questions can be mostly coming from this area, that is setting the quantitative levels. This is the number one priority of this entire chapter. Then maybe rarely but possibly a classification related question can also come. That's only just a logical thing. There is no calculation involved, but we might have a number based question on this also. But ratio analysis questions can also be asked, which were asked earlier as well. Here also formula. So the first one, this one, and this one, these two are going to be only formula oriented. So these two are the ones which will definitely be useful for us in solving the problems. Of course, how can we solve the problems? Only by knowing those formulae, and of course also understanding the nature of them, meaning of them, concept of the formula. That also is of course part of the understanding. But as far as examination is concerned, question, data, numbers will be given. What is our great job? Writing the formula, take the relevant data, substitute in the formula, get the answer. Got the marks, that's it, happy. That is the examination approach. Learning is different, examination is different. So examination only just talks about formula, substitution, answer. That's it. That is a simple thing. Many questions in the costing, not only this chapter, many chapters will have the same type of approach. There is a formula, data will be given in the question. All that you need to do is substitute that data given in the question in the formula that we already should know. Then what is the outcome of that? That is going to be the answer. So formula, substitute, answer is going to be the mantra for many type of questions in costing paper. However, that should not be done mechanically. If we just do it mechanically, that is of no use. We need to understand the formula. Of course, substitution does not require any understanding. This requires a pure some clerical arithmetic work. Answer automatically comes if we do it accurately. Calculation will be required. So before the formula, you should have concept also in mind in relation to the formula. That's what I mean to say. So once we have the conceptual clarity, then this also will give us proper results. If concept itself is not there, if we do this mechanically, don't we get marks? Sir, we can get. I'm not saying we cannot get. But sometimes we may not get. Why? Because sometimes the questions will be given in such a twisted way that it is not so easy directly to follow this process of formula, substitute and answer. Becomes little difficult unless you have clarity on the concept of that formula itself. That is why we have to learn it in a proper way with conceptual clarity on each of the items and why Why is an important question in costing, and that is one of the useless questions for taxation and any legal subject. So here, for everything, why is this, we have to understand. That's what is concept, simply speaking. So we have to use this formula for two categories, and this one is just a procedural question. Physical control purely is a theoretical aspect. So we'll understand one by one what are the various types of inventory control mechanisms, we can call. There are broadly 4 types of inventory control mechanisms. Let us start with the first category, which is the most important category, and we have to understand what are those levels. And not only that, most importantly, we need to be able to use them. We need to be able to apply them in the form of formulae that we have to remember. So understand this very, very, very clearly, and we have to understand this overall process. This is the most important area you need to understand, because this entire box itself will tell us what is each level representing. This is what is the actual meaning of each of these formula that we are going to use and calculate. First and foremost thing, let us say reorder level, or we can call it reorder stock level. That is a level which tells us when to order. Means if the stock in the godown has reached this level, that means the time has come to order. Just for understanding purposes. Example, let us say the reorder level of a particular kind of material is 1000 kgs. Clear? Reorder level already fixed, calculated according to some formula, is 1000 kgs, which is fixed already. That is, these are all levels which are already predetermined. So once that reorder level is 1000 kgs, but really the stock in the godown is say 1200 kgs, should we order? Naturally no, because we did not reach the reorder level. So next day, tomorrow, we issued 100 kgs. So now the stock has become 1100 kgs. Should we order? No, still we did not reach reorder level. Next day, we again issued another 100 kgs. Issued means who here? We are talking about storekeeper. We are the storekeeper now. All these levels and all, who has to maintain? Storekeeper has to maintain. So the storekeeper issued another 100 kgs to production next day. Now the stock has reached 1000 kgs. So what should we do immediately? What the storekeeper should do? Immediately he has to raise a purchase requisition. Storekeeper will not purchase himself, we know that. He will raise a purchase requisition to the purchasing department, and then immediately an order will have to be placed by the purchasing department. So what is this reorder level? That is the level of stock. Of course, all of them are quantitative in nature. All these things are quantities only, not values. None of them is related to rupees. Everything is quantitative. That is why we are talking about setting the quantitative levels. So this is one level, that is reorder level. What is this reorder level? When the stock reaches this level, automatically that warrants us that we need to place a fresh order. That's what it will tell us when to order. Simply speaking, reorder level means when to order. That is reorder level. That's what it tells us. How to calculate? We'll see. There is a formula for that. We'll do that. Then another thing is reorder quantity. And sometimes we can call this as economic ordering quantity, or EOQ. Of course, reorder quantity ideally is what it is telling is how much to order. Means we can call this as one way order size. Reorder quantity can also be called as order size. It is order size. Okay, we have to order, we know. In our example, what was the reorder level? Just for example purposes, we had an example of 1000 kgs reorder level. So once we reached that reorder level, we need to place an order. Okay, storekeeper asked the purchasing manager. Purchasing manager has to place an order. That we know. Question is, boss, for how many kilos that order should be placed? Should it be placed for 500 kilos, 200 kilos, 1000 kilos, 5000 kilos? We don't know. We should know. If we know that, what is that called? That is reordering quantity. That means how much to order. In other words, what should be the size of the order? What is the order size? That's what will be told by reorder quantity. Ideally, how much it should be? Ideally, that is economic order quantity. Ideally, not really, always, not possible. Ideally, what should be the reorder quantity if any organization wants to really maintain proper scientific methodology for inventory control? It should have a policy of economic order quantity as reorder quantity. But once again, Will all the organizations follow economic order quantity? Not necessarily. If they follow, that is good for them. If they don't follow, definitely it is not good for them. So, ideally, economic order quantity itself should be reorder quantity, but don't expect that always reorder quantity is equal to economic order quantity. If nothing is mentioned, yes, both are same. But if reorder quantity is specially given, directly given, then we cannot say EOQ and reorder quantity are one and the same. EOQ is ideal. EOQ need not be actual. Actual reorder quantity could be something different from EOQ. It's a possibility. Sir, how is it going to happen? That we don't know, sir. We have to look at the question. In the question, according to the information given in the question, we have to understand whether this particular organization is following EOQ or not. If it follows EOQ, then EOQ itself is reorder quantity. If it doesn't follow EOQ, then it might have a different policy of having any other reorder quantity other than EOQ. That is their choice. So simply what does it indicate is how much to order. That is order size, we can call it. Reorder level or reorder stock level, you don't need to use this word. So we can just use some of these words or you can say acronyms for practice purposes. In the exam, you have to use full forms. So this is reorder level. This is reorder quantity, which if it is not specially mentioned like that, it is nothing but economic order quantity. So we have a formula for this. We have a formula for this also. That is economic order quantity. Same way there can be set another level that is called maximum level or maximum stock level. Maximum level. So maximum level will tell us up to how much to stock. Means our stock in the godown should in no circumstances be more than maximum level. Name itself indicates that is maximum. Means what? Upper limit we can say of our stock. Our stock in the godown should never exceed maximum level. That is what is maximum stock level, and there is a formula for that also. Then we have minimum stock. Minimum stock is another one. So minimum stock means naturally the same indicates, name itself indicates at least how much to stock. So maximum stock tells us up to how much to stock, that is a maximum level. Minimum stock level indicates at least how much to stock. In other words, at any point of time in the year, in our godown, the stock should not go below minimum. So the stock which is remaining in the godown should never be below this minimum. It should not be below this minimum. At the same time, it should not be above this maximum stock level. So maximum stock level is setting the upper limit, whereas minimum stock level is setting the lower limit. So this is the minimum stock. If by any chance, if the stock level actually in the godown goes below minimum level, that means something is wrong. It should not happen. Ideally, the inventory control should happen in such a way that the stock level varies somewhere between minimum level and maximum level. It should not exceed maximum level. It should not be below minimum level. That's what minimum stock level means. Of course, as an indicative thing, we can have an average stock level on an average. Once again, is it going to be exactly the stock at the godown all the times? No. But on an average, how much? Just indicative, that is. Minimum and maximum are not indicative. Minimum and maximum are proper control mechanisms. Maximum means maximum. That's it. No way the stock in the godown can exceed this. Minimum means minimum. That's it. No way the stock in the godown can go below this. That is, these are set. Average stock level, where it will be? Somewhere between these two. Sir, where exactly? We don't need that. That doesn't matter. Somewhere in between minimum and maximum, there will be average stock level. That is a stock normally kept. Sometimes we can call that normal stock level or average stock level. Normally, how much stock is kept? Once again, it is not an exact number. On any day you just go to the godown and see that will the stock be equal to average stock level? No, sir, not possible. It is just an indicative level. On an average, how much stock is maintained in the godown? That's once again only on an average. That's all, not real. Minimum and maximum are proper limits. Average stock level is only an indicative of somewhere in between minimum and maximum. Then we have another thing called danger stock level. Danger stock level, we can just say, is the name indicates, that is kept for emergency requirements. So what is the danger stock level? That is a stock which is kept for emergency requirement. So that will not be generally used. If really any emergency requirement comes, then only it will be used. Same way buffer stock also, more or less same actually, more or less same. There is no much difference between them. So if at all there is a sudden demand, you cannot call it mitigate. This is the wrong spelling. It is mitigate or meet. One of them we can use, not a hybrid of both. So to meet a certain demand, we can use the buffer stock, or to mitigate certain demand, we can use the buffer stock. I would say better to use the word meet. So to meet, forget about this. So this can be just struck off. To meet the sudden demand, whatever the stock is kept, that is called buffer stock. So more or less same once again. Sudden demand and all, who knows? So sudden demand is again emergency requirement only, no? So more or less we can say these two are one and the same. So don't worry too much about these two. These are only for rare exceptional circumstances. So normally also these two are not going to be so important because they are not normal. They are exceptional situations. Normally, what are the questions that can be asked? See how fantastic this is. There are only 5 formulae and 5 marks question will come from this. Simple, direct possibility. Reorder level, economic ordering quantity, maximum stock level, minimum stock level, average stock level. These are the 5 things which will be more important from exam point of view. We need to remember the formula. Of course, these 2 things also can be calculated, but they're not that relevant. We can calculate them. Danger stock level has a formula. Buffer stock has no special formula. Even if we create that also just for our satisfaction, it is not going to be much very different from danger stock level. These two are one and the same, we can say. So these are the various types of stock levels. We can call them as quantitative levels. These are all quantitative levels which are all set by the organizations. So within this quantitative levels, the inventory control should happen. Without these levels, what happens, sir? If we don't have these levels in an organization, what happens? Definitely the organization will do its own inventory management, which will be in a chaos. The materials may go beyond maximum level also. They may go beyond minimum level also. Suddenly material may not be available. Suddenly too much of material is there. Order size can be too huge unnecessarily, or order size can be too small unnecessarily. All problems will come. So we don't know when to order. Suddenly, as and when night the storekeeper will have a dream, okay, tomorrow we will place an order, he'll ask the purchase manager to place an order. Purchase manager will place an order whenever he wants commission. So like this, it will be abrupt inventory management if these levels are not there. And that is why one point also to note, we are talking about human beings who are all going to use these levels. And human beings can be having a control on them only when there is a scientific methodology given to them. There is no judgment here, by the way, if you observe. You cannot say it is a judgment of the storekeeper. Storekeeper will have a look at that. Okay, maybe if he feels that the stock has to be purchased, then he will place a purchase requisition. If that happens, that is dangerous for organizations. That is unscientific methodology. So system should be there, not human beings. People will come, people will go. So judgment of the storekeeper, judgment of the purchase manager should never be generally the criteria for doing the inventory control. That is why we need a proper mechanism, proper system, set system. So storekeeper is not going to have his judgment. He doesn't have to check that. So it is not about, oh, should we order today or not? Storekeeper will decide. No, he will not decide. Who will decide? Reorder level will decide. If at all by any chance the stock in the godown has reached reorder level, boss, the time has come for ordering. No, go for an order, place an order. That's it. There is no choice there. There is no judgment there. That is a stock level which is already determined. Okay, what that he needs to do, he needs to check the stock regularly and check whether the stock level in the godown has reached this reorder level or not. That job human being only has to do. But actually ordering should not be done on the basis of judgments. It should be done scientifically by following these various quantitative levels. So that is when an action point will be initiated. Reorder level is the level at which an action point will be initiated. Means order has to be made now. Then another question comes, okay, order is made, but how much to order? That will be determined by economic ordering quantity. If we order more than economic order quantity or less than economic ordering quantity, it is going to be costly. It is going to be expensive for the organization. So better to order economic ordering quantity, better to make EOQ as reorder quantity. That is ideal for an organization. Once again, a scientific technique for proper inventory control. Same way, maximum stock level, already it is there. If somebody tries to purchase more materials, already when the material has reached maximum stock level, so we should have a doubt, was maybe are you purchasing for commission unnecessarily? Stock already has reached maximum level. And why are you purchasing further? No need. Don't unnecessarily pile up the stocks. A lot of times it so happens in the organizations. So in order to control that, we will set a maximum stock level under any circumstances on any day in the year. The stock level in the godown should not have crossed the maximum stock level. So if at all you go and audit an organization, you can check on any day, did the godown stock, actually physical stock, has exceeded the maximum stock level. If so, how many days it has crossed? If so, why it has crossed? Is it just like by mistake, or is it intentional? All these things will come when possible to control all these things only when we have levels first. That is the purpose why the maximum stock level, minimum stock level, reorder stock level, all of them are first calculated, then used as a part of inventory control mechanisms. Same with minimum stock level. At any point of time during the year, the stock level within the godown should never go below minimum stock level. If it is going, that means something went wrong. That is not a proper inventory control. It should not go. Ideally, the stock level should not be exceeding the maximum stock level. It should not be below the minimum stock level. These are the control points, that is why, which are important as a part of inventory control mechanisms. Average stock level is an indicative only. That's not something which is very crucial in the control, but it indicates us, okay, on an average, how much stock is there on a daily basis. Generally, how much will be that normally kept in the godown. Danger stock level and buffer stock are those which will be used only when emergency requirements will come, sudden demand will come. Those will not be generally issued to the production. These will be kept as a separate, you can say, items. Those separate items will not be touched for normal production. Like for example, when you receive money, pocket money from your parents, you will have some 100 rupees, 500 rupees somewhere stored secretly. In my college days, I used to store that in the belt. So there used to be belt buckles within that there used to be one 500 note. So we don't use that normally. It will be there, but we a lot of times forget that also it is there. So normally all expenses will be met. Suddenly one day, maybe some emergency requirement is there or a sudden demand is there, and maybe our money is not sufficient, we take that out. So that buckle money, we can call, what we use normally. That's a similar thing for companies, but they use it only occasionally if there is a need for that. This will not be required on a regular basis. But the cautious inventory controlling authorities will definitely keep them. We call that as buffer stock or danger stock level. So these are various stock levels used for inventory control mechanisms. Now let us understand the formula for them. Everybody should write this formula. Everybody should understand what is the concept of each of these levels. This is the conceptual understanding, very important. Why these levels are important, that we should understand. Now how will come. How means what? How to calculate those levels. Now simply speaking, what is the reorder stock level? That is called reorder level. So understand this formula and remember them. Write them number of times, I would suggest actually. If you write number of times, that will be better for you. More number of times you write, you can remember them also well, right? What is reorder level? Already we discussed. Reorder level means that level of stock which, if it has been reached in the godown, the fresh order should be placed for replenishment of stock. Replenishment means replacement or filling up the stock which has already been consumed. So where will this reorder level be? Will it be above maximum level? Definitely not. Will it be below minimum level? Definitely not. So naturally it will be somewhere between minimum and maximum levels. And how it should be calculated? This is the formula I should write and remember. What is the reorder level? This is one formula, that is maximum consumption into maximum reorder period. Sometimes this reorder period can also be called as, lot of times it will be used by using this word, that is called lead time. Lead time, or we can call that reorder period. So what is the reorder period or lead time? Simply that is the time where when we place an order, immediately the material will not come to us, right? It will take some time for the supplier to deliver us. That's what we are talking about. In other words, simply that is the time to get the order from supplier to the stores. That's what is called as reorder period or lead time. So what is lead time now? Lead time means that is the time required for getting the order, means getting actually the physical materials. Order means not a document. Getting the order means here, what does it mean? Really receiving the materials from the supplier to the stores. So from supplier to our godown, how much time it will take? We will place a purchase order today. Purchase order is our document with which we have almost ordered the supplier to supply. Today, let us say if we placed a purchase order, how much time it will take for the supplier to deliver it to us, and finally that stock comes to our godown. It will take time. Transport time will be there, loading, unloading, sometimes problems will come. All these things have to be kept in mind in general. And whatever that time may be, sometimes it could be very short, few hours or few minutes. Sometimes it could be very long. It could be few days also. For certain types of materials, this could be months also, naturally, weeks also. If at all you have to import some very important material from outside, it may take weeks of time, months of time. So lead time could change from naturally situation to situation. But what is lead time, that we should understand. So what is the lead time? That is a time to get the materials delivered from our supplier to our godown. Simply speaking, that is what is lead time. We can also call that as reorder period. That is maximum how much it will be, that we should take. Sir, how do we know that our supplier he will have this much lead time? Sir, out of experience only. It is not that every supplier will tell us, oh, this is my maximum lead time and all. With experience, with general terms and conditions that we agree with the supplier, usually what will be the maximum lead time can be known to an organization. You and I cannot go and say, check that. That is why for our convenience, it will be given in the question. Don't worry. So what is the maximum reorder period or lead time? That will be given in the question. Multiply that with maximum consumption. Then what you get is reorder level. Points to be noted here. This is another important thing in many questions. It will be sometimes tricky. This is not really complicated, but people with their ignorance or I would say with the hurried approach of solving the questions, they miss these small points. Let us say the reorder period or lead time is given in days. Like lead time is 4 days, let us say. Maximum lead time is 4 days if it is mentioned. Maximum consumption should be taken what? Per day, naturally, because if this reorder period is 4 days, consumption should be taken per day. If, for example, lead time is in weeks, then consumption should be taken also per week. If lead time is in months, consumption should also be taken per month. So don't automatically just multiply any two numbers which are given in the question. Make sure whether the period here which is expressed, whether it could be days, weeks, months, whatever it is it matching with the consumption per dash? So this maximum consumption means what? Consumption means how much materials we are going to use in production. Daily maximum consumption we are talking, weekly maximum consumption we are talking, or quarterly or monthly maximum consumption we are talking. We don't know that. We need to check whether this and this are matching or not. If you take maximum consumption per day and you will take reorder period in weeks, it doesn't make sense. That number will not be representative of anything. That is a useless number which comes out with the multiplication of two incompatible numbers. But the numbers, when we multiply them here, they have to be compatible with each other. When can we say they are compatible with each other? When the period we are talking about is expressed as something, as days, months, weeks, whatever it is. And then consumption also should be expressed per that period, per that whatever period that is. So always understand this very carefully. This consumption expression has to be carefully taken per period, per day, per week, per month. If that is taken, then you have to multiply with number of days, number of weeks, number of months. So what is the number of days, number of weeks, number of months? That could be the lead time. That could be the lead time. And what is the lead time? That is the time it will take for the supplier to supply the stock to us, where it will reach to our godown. So from the time when we order the goods, by the time we deliver, by the time we get the delivery of those goods, how much time it takes, that is called reorder period or lead time. Maximum how much it might take, that is called maximum lead time. Maximum consumption, how much we will do normally in our factory. In the factory, consumption per day, per week, per month, whatever it could be, how much maximum we will consume. Not minimum, not average. Maximum possible. What is, let us say, our full capacity if you are operating, how much maximum requirement of material could be there. That is called maximum consumption. If that is multiplied with maximum reorder period, then what we get is reorder level. If both these details are available, reorder level can be calculated by using this formula, that is first formula. Sometimes it will not be available. then what we should take? Then we can use this formula for reorder level, which is dependent on minimum stock level. So reorder level is not directly calculated here. First we should calculate minimum level. Then we can calculate reorder level by using this formula. So this formula, whatever I am highlighting, you should write them number of times and remember them. So reorder level, what is the formula? Maximum consumption into maximum lead time. Reorder level, one more formula is minimum level plus. Why plus? Because reorder level will be more than minimum level definitely. No doubt about it. So minimum level plus average consumption into average lead time. So we can take maximum consumption into maximum lead time or minimum level plus average consumption into average lead time. Wherever we say consumption lead time, we have to understand these two should be timelines wise similar. If we are taking period as days, we should take consumption per day. If we are taking the lead time as weeks, we should take consumption per week. So these two should be compatible. That logic will be always there. We don't have to every time discuss that. That is always there. But all that we need to remember is the formula here. So reorder level has two different formula here. One formula is maximum consumption into maximum lead time. Second one is reorder level, another formula, minimum level plus average consumption into average lead time. And there is a bracket here, remember that. So this is average consumption into average lead time. First you have to calculate that average consumption into average lead time. Then add minimum level to that. Then you get reorder level. Average consumption means on an average how much we will consume on a daily basis or a weekly basis or a monthly basis, multiplied with on an average how much it will be taking for the suppliers to deliver to us. So there is a maximum consumption, maximum lead time, average consumption, average lead time. Every details should be given in the question. Now then only you can calculate, right? So don't worry details, how can we get it and all. They will be in the question. Your job is to remember the formula and substitute them. So here average consumption into average lead time, we'll add that to the minimum stock level, then we get reorder level. Clear? But limitation of this formula is first we should know minimum level, then only we can apply this formula to calculate reorder level. If information is available, first formula is preferable, where the reorder level is calculated as maximum consumption into maximum lead time. So maximum consumption into maximum lead time is the formula for reorder level, right? Other formula, if these details are not available, then okay, reorder level is equal to minimum level, not minimum consumption, minimum level plus average consumption into average lead time. These are the two formula. Any of them can be used. Sir, which one to use if the data is available for both? Calculate both, sir. Somebody is asking you not to calculate. Your choice. You calculate both. Who said? Who is stopping you? So you can calculate any number of things if you can calculate according to the information availability. Don't assume things unnecessarily. Simple point, numbers cannot be assumed. Don't please do that. Whatever the data available in the question, accordingly you calculate. If both are possible, both calculate. Nothing wrong in that. If one calculation extra if you do, nobody is going to hit you for that. So don't ask such questions. What if both are there? What should we do? If both are there, you calculate both. It will take another 1 more minute maximum, not more than that. So simple point is, according to the information, we have to use this two formula, one of the formula for obtaining reorder level. That is the first thing. Now coming to the other thing, that is reorder quantity. We'll have a separate discussion later. That is economic ordering quantity. We'll focus on the other things like minimum level and maximum level first. Then we'll come back to the reorder quantity as a separate discussion. Because when we are talking about the levels, we are always talking about somewhere in between highest and lowest levels only we are talking about. So the highest level of stock that can be maintained in an organization is maximum level. So understand this graph, this can be called as a stock control chart. So stock control chart will be like this approximately. Don't think that in reality there will be straight lines like this always. Not necessarily. It can be a little bit zigzag also. Doesn't matter. But look at this. That is what the meaning of this is what is important. So there is a maximum stock level, which is the maximum. At any point of time, the stock cannot go beyond that. Clear? And there is a reorder level. Reorder level means whenever the stock reaches this level, there has to be a fresh order made. And there is a minimum stock level. Means at any point of time, this level of stock in the godown should not go below this level. Did not. It did not cross the maximum level. It did not go below the minimum level also. It should not actually, ideally speaking. So this organization maintained well, so it did not cross. If it crossed, that means something is wrong. It should not cross ideally. So it should not go below the minimum level, should not go above the maximum level. Reorder level will be somewhere in between minimum level and maximum level naturally. That's what is the stock control cost chart. Of course, there is a buffer stock additionally which is there below even the minimum stock level. This one is never going to be used. So this one is not going to be used at all. This level is completely for emergency requirements. If at all rarely such situation comes, then only this buffer stock will be used. So forget about this one. Basically, minimum stock definitely should be maintained all the times. The stock in the godown should never go below that. And stock in the godown should never exceed maximum stock. Then what is reorder level? Reorder level is that when this particular inventory at the godown has reached this level, a fresh order is made. And understand what is the difference between these two. What is the difference between these two things? So naturally, this is going to be the lead time, the overall thing, inclusive of buffer stock, we can say. Buffer stock is always there. So ignoring the buffer stock, this is the lead time. Why is that? Because you placed an order when the stock reached here, or here, or here, whatever. These are all the places where the orders are made. These are all places where orders are made, right? So when the stock reaches this level, so whenever it reaches that level, the orders are made. The earlier one is not that. This one, yeah. So these are all the places. Sorry, this also should be not there. So these are the places. When the stock has reached the reorder level, a fresh order is made. But fresh order made does not mean immediately we have the stock with us. It will take time. No, it will take lead time. But in the meantime, what is happening? We are consuming from our stock only. Our stock level is reducing because we are using that stock for production. But never it went below minimum level. That is how our management will be. And by the time all the stocks, what we wanted, what we ordered have come, again our stock went up to this level. So originally, let us say the godown has this much stock, used it and reached the reorder level, placed an order, but still we did not receive the stock. Naturally, it will take time, it will take lead time. So in the lead time also, we consumed the stock, reached minimum level. By the time it reaches this, already our order placed will be delivered to us. Once it is delivered to us, our stock levels have increased back, but it should not exceed maximum level. Again, the same story continues, again it goes up. Again, the same story continues, again it goes up. So where are these points? Where the dotted points are those what? Those are the points where the order will be made, a fresh order will be made. That's what we are calling it as reorder level, and which can be calculated by using any of the two formulae. What are the two formulae? You have to remember them always. One is maximum consumption into maximum lead time. Second one is minimum stock level plus average consumption into average lead time. That's what is reorder level formula. Clear? These are the various levels maintained by any organization. Now let us understand the formula for the other things like minimum stock level, maximum stock level, etc. So what is minimum stock level? This is the formula you have to remember for minimum stock level. How much minimum stock has to be maintained? This much should be maintained. That is what? Reorder stock level minus average consumption rate into average reorder period. Looks familiar? Of course, sir. It is the same formula that we have earlier already. So if already minimum stock is given, in order to calculate reorder stock, you can use the formula minimum level plus average consumption into average lead time. Now, if it is not given, but average consumption, average lead time is given, reorder level also you can calculate by using another formula. That is maximum consumption into maximum lead time. Let us say you already calculated that. Then how to calculate minimum stock level? It is the same formula. The second formula for reorder level and these are same. Only thing is the sides have changed. There what we said reorder level is equal to minimum stock level plus average consumption into average lead time. Now what we are saying, minimum stock level is equal to reorder level minus of average consumption into average lead time. Once again, this bracket becomes important. So this entire thing is within the bracket. Average consumption into average lead time. That should be deducted from reorder level. Then what we get is called minimum stock level. And what is this telling us? It is the minimum stock to be maintained in hand at all times. Every time, at any point in time, the stock should not go below this. That's what we're talking about. This is the minimum stock level. At any point in time, the stock level cannot go below this point. So these are all minimum stock level points, once you can say. Once the stock reached minimum points, these are the dotted points. That is minimum stock level. Reorder level already we know. We can calculate it by using the formula maximum consumption into maximum lead time. That is what reorder level formula is. Minimum stock level formula is, and reorder level formula, both are one and the same, just changing the sides. If reorder level has to be calculated, the formula will be minimum stock level plus average consumption into average lead time. If minimum level has to be calculated, then reorder level minus of average consumption into average lead time. That is the formula for minimum stock level, which is related to reorder level. There is no separate formula for it. It is linked to reorder level. That we have to understand. Then there is maximum stock level. Maximum stock level should be more than reorder level or not? Definitely yes. That is why reorder level, what we already know, plus reorder quantity. Here the problem comes, or difference comes. Reorder quantity, if it is given in the question, we will take it. If not, then we should find out reorder quantity, which could be economic ordering quantity. So once again I am repeating, reorder quantity ideally should be economic ordering quantity, but not necessarily. Maybe reorder quantity may be EOQ, not necessarily EOQ. How is it known? Depends upon the question, sir. In the question, if it is giving us a hint that we should calculate EOQ, then we will calculate EOQ and take that as reorder quantity. If not, the question itself is telling this is the reorder quantity that as a policy of the company, their order size is this much. We'll take that only. So that is the reorder quantity which should be added to reorder level. Then what? After that, bracket is for this. That is minus of minimum consumption into minimum lead time. So we have all the formula having two things. One is consumption, one is lead time. Consumption and lead time. Consumption will be what? Per something. Per what? Whatever, depending upon the lead time. Let us take for days, for example only. It could be weeks also, months also. Let us say on an average, minimum consumption per day is 3 kilos. Let us say maximum consumption per day, only for understanding purposes, is 7 kilos per day, right? And the lead time is, let us say, 2 days or 3 days, like that. So this is minimum consumption, this is maximum consumption. Average consumption will be how much on an average? That is 5. That is average consumption. So while taking average consumption, you can take the average of minimum consumption and maximum consumption. Minimum consumption plus maximum consumption divided by 2. That is a simple average consumption. If the word normal consumption is used in the question, you have to take that. I will do average. If the question also says it, then that will be wrong. If the question says normal consumption or average consumption is given in the question, just take that. Then don't take this. If it is not given in the question, then average is nothing but minimum plus maximum by 2. So minimum every day we will consume 3 kilos guaranteed. Maximum every day we might consume 7 kilos maximum, not beyond that. So average, we know that on an average 5 kilos per day, depending upon the lead time. So minimum, let us say, for the supplier to supply, it will take 2 days. Maximum, let us say, it will take 4 days. Means on an average it will take 3 days, like that. So we have all the formula which can be applied with this data. This is enough. The data that is required for solving all these levels related questions is this. This is enough. Of course, for maximum level, we need one more thing, that is reorder quantity. So from this data, can we find out the reorder level? Yes. What was the formula? Maximum consumption into maximum lead time. So 7 kilos per day into 4 days, that means 21 is going to be, 7 4s, right? 28 is going to be the reorder level. Kilos, tons, lakhs of tons, whatever it could be, just for example purposes. That is the reorder level, first one, maximum consumption into maximum lead time. Same way, minimum level can we find out? Yes, sir. Reorder level is already there, that is 28 minus of average consumption into average lead time. Average consumption is 5 and average lead time is 3. So 5 into 3 is 15. Reduce it. Average consumption into average lead time. Reduce it from the reorder level. So automatically what you get is minimum level, that is going to be 13 kgs. That is minimum level. For maximum level, we cannot calculate because we need reorder quantity also. If reorder quantity, for example, let us say it is the policy of this organization, every time they order, let us for say understanding purposes, they say, let us say they will order 10 kilos for each order. That is the reorder quantity, that is the order size, we can say. This is not stock level, this is order size. Understand the difference. Consumption is different, stock is different, order is different. Consumption happens where 3 kilos, 5 kilos, 7 kilos happens in the factory, right? Levels happen where, what is the minimum level, 13 kilos, where this is in the godown. And where this 10 kilos will happen, this happens in purchasing department. Purchasing department will make an order of how much? It will make an order of 10 kilos. That is a policy, that is called reorder quantity. Then how to calculate maximum stock level? Reorder level already we know, which we did already. So that comes to around 28, which we already calculated reorder level. Then we have reorder quantity. Reorder quantity is nothing but order size, that comes to 10, which is there, minus of minimum consumption into minimum lead time, 3 into 6, that is, sorry, 3 into 2, that is 6. So how much is going to be the maximum stock level for this particular organization? 28 plus 10, 38, 38 minus 6, that is going to be 32 kilos maximum stock level that they can maintain. So where this organization will have maximum stock level of 32, that is maximum stock level, reorder level of 28 somewhere, and minimum level of 13. This is how the organization will set its inventory level. So minimum level, that is 13 kgs, which we calculated, maximum level 32 kgs, and reorder level is 28 kgs. So how did we calculate reorder level? Maximum consumption into maximum lead time, that is 7 fours 28. How did we calculate minimum level? Reorder level minus of average consumption into average lead time. Reorder level already we know 28, minus of average consumption into average lead time is 15. So we got a minimum level of 13. How did we get maximum level? Formula has to be remembered and applied. Reorder level, which we already know, 28, plus reorder quantity is a fact that depends upon the policy of the factory. According to their policy, order size is 10, let us say, that is 10, minus of minimum consumption into minimum lead time. Minimum consumption is 3, minimum lead time is 2 days, so 3 into 2, 6. So with that we got a maximum level of 32, reorder level of 28, minimum level of 13. That's it. Any number of questions, data will be given like this only, and answers will have to be sorted out and calculated like this only. These are the major formula that we are going to use in solving questions. Clear? Now there is one more additional item, which is a simple calculation, basically average stock level. Average stock level can be also calculated two ways. Simply average stock level is nothing but minimum level plus maximum level by 2. So here in this case, our example, what was the minimum level? Minimum level was 13. What was the maximum level? That was 32. So 32 plus 13 divided by 2 is going to be average stock level. In other words, that is going to be 45 divided by 2. That comes to around 22.5 kgs. That is the average stock level. Minimum level plus maximum level divided by 2 is a simple average. But that is not the only formula for average stock level. We can use this formula also. That is minimum level plus half of the reorder quantity. That also we can use here. So here minimum level is 13. Reorder quantity is 10. Half of reorder quantity is 5. 13 plus 5. 13 plus half of 10. That is 13 plus 5. That is 18 is going to be average stock level. So 22.5 is one answer. 18 is another answer. Sir, which one we should answer? Which one we should answer? Both, sir. If possible, do both. Who is stopping you? So do both whenever possible. If not possible, data is not there, don't do that. Whatever data is available, do that. So either way, it can be done. So one of the formula, according to the question, according to the requirement, we have to use. So that question, which one we should use, will not come. Every time the answer is same according to the question, according to the data given in the question. Whichever formula is relevant, that we will use. If we can use both, we will definitely use both. Then there is no problem in writing one more extra formula and extra answer. That will not harm us. It is good. So either way, this can be calculated average stock level. What are the formula? Minimum level plus half of the reorder quantity or average stock level plus minimum level plus maximum level divided by 2. That is how average stock level is calculated. Two formulae, any of them can be used here. That's it. That is about the stock levels. Of course, there is one more formula also, which can be a separate thing, though it is not normally required. But as if it is given in the question, the data is given, then definitely we can apply this formula. What is danger level? So danger level can be taken like this: average consumption into lead time for emergency purchases. So lead time here is for normal circumstances. But if there is a separate lead time for emergency purchases, like suddenly if you want, maybe our supplier will airlift the goods. If that is the case, emergency purchases lead time may be shorter. If that is the case, then we have to multiply that lead time for emergency purchases with average consumption or minimum consumption. Any of them is okay. If nothing is mentioned, you can use average consumption to be conservative. Multiply with lead time for emergency purchases. That is called danger level. And in addition to this, sometimes there can be additional stock that is kept for contingency for sudden ordering. That can be called as buffer stock. No formula for that. How much buffer stock to be maintained completely is left to the organization. There is no need to have a formula for buffer stock. As I told, danger level and buffer stock can be same also for many organizations. There is no problem. So danger level is that where we will stop issuing the raw materials for regular production. It will be only issued, the raw material will be issued only for emergency requirements. Otherwise, that will not be issued at all. Means production is stopped. The moment, imagine the stock in the godown has actually reached below the minimum stock level, and already in the buffer stock only it is already there. Below if minimum stock level, if it has reached, or below this, let us say there is one more line called danger level. If it has touched the danger level, then normal production is stopped. Nothing is going to be issued to the production. If at all there is any emergency issue, that only is going to be issued. Otherwise, no. So like dangerous situations, emergency situations, how the issues will happen? No issues will happen. Only issues will happen for particularly required emergencies. Maybe sudden job is there, very important customer has ordered something, urgently required production requirements are there. Only for them the stock which is within the danger level will be used. Otherwise, the danger level the stock has touched means production is stopped, issues have stopped. We have to understand that. Already red light is on. So it is a danger level. That is why the name itself indicates danger level. It should never be reached. If it is reached, that's a bad sign. It's not a good sign. If any time the stock reaches below the minimum level, that is a bad sign. If it touches danger level, that is already a danger bell. It should not touch it. If it touches, no issues made to production at all. But how to calculate that danger level? When can you stop completely all the issues to the production? When the stock touches the danger level, which can be calculated using this formula: average consumption multiplied with lead time for emergency purchases, which is a special lead time. It will not be there in the normal table. Especially if it is given, then only we can calculate. Otherwise, generally it is not required to be calculated also. Depending upon data given in the question, we should be able to calculate all these things. So in the general requirements, if there is no EOQ calculation, in general, all the stock levels can be calculated like this. So totally how many formulae are there? There are 5 formulae related to stock levels. What are those? One is reorder level, then we have minimum level, then maximum level, then average level, then we have danger level. So these are the 5 things that can be calculated as different stock levels: reorder level, minimum level, maximum level, average level, danger level. These 5 levels of stock formulae are required to be remembered. Each of you have to write them and remember them. Once we start solving the problems, you should directly be able to apply them. Then there should not be any confusion. Oh, what was the formula? Or sorry sir, instead of average consumption, I took maximum consumption. All this nonsense should not be done. So whatever the formula is exactly, that only has to be used. So the formula have to be remembered very much for solving any questions related to stock levels. EOQ is a different concept altogether. We will discuss that in the next class. But EOQ is not required always in all the questions of stock levels, because if reorder quantity is given, that is enough. Reorder quantity in some cases can be EOQ and it need not be EOQ also. How will it be EOQ or not depends upon the information given in the question. So forget about EOQ for the time being. EOQ definitely economic order quantity we can calculate separately if the data is given there. But keeping that apart, basically the stock levels calculations will be like this, where we have to be able to calculate a minimum stock level, maximum stock level, average stock level, reorder level, and danger level. So very, very thoroughly remember all these formulae, and we'll solve some questions also in the next class. Then we will move on to solving of questions in relation to economic order quantity after understanding the concept of EOQ and the application of EOQ for inventory control systems. So very important aspect of costing, very important aspect in the chapter of materials. So be very thorough in understanding as well as remembering the formula, and then in future applying them for solving the problems. Clear? With that, we can conclude today's session. In the next session, we'll continue this discussion by solving some questions, and also a discussion on EOQ can be initiated in the next session. Till that time, take care. Bye bye. Thank you very much.